Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Can I be real for a second? That goal you have to exercise and eat better, you really can do it. But nobody is going to do it for you. And nobody has to, because you can do it if you have the right tools and a community that cares about helping you get results. And that's us, Beachbody. It's as convenient as your TV or laptop, but you need to decide that you're worth it. Let us help you succeed. Here's how. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Can I be real for a second? That goal you have to exercise and eat better, you really can do it. But nobody is going to do it for you. And nobody has to, because you can do it if you have the right tools and a community that cares about helping you get results. And that's us, Beachbody. It's as convenient as your TV or laptop, but you need to decide that you're worth it. Let us help you succeed. Here's how. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Everybody knows that true crime can be a real buzz killer. So why not pair it with a nice glass of wine?
Join us, Macy and Nicole, the hosts of Buzzkillers, a true crime podcast, as we drink our way through new bottles of wine every week while navigating true crime cases, conspiracy theories, and even some spooky haunts.
The deep dives are kept light with banter and personal tales, and even the occasional boozy hiccup.
Listeners are encouraged to grab a drink of any kind and tune in every Sunday as we tell the tales of the wicked that plague this world.
Buzzkillers can be streamed on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere else you like to listen. Check out our website, www.buzzkillerspodcast.com, for more information.
Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Diva.
And this is Twisted Listeners, a podcast about murder
and lists.
And we're brought to you by the Podmoth Podcasting Network. Check them out. Check out the other podcasts. You just heard an ad for one of them. We love our little community. You should love them too. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Patrons, you should have a new Patreon out by now, courtesy of Diva. Thank you, Diva, for taking my turn because I couldn't get my shit together. We're going to be better in the new year. I think the Twisted Listeners' New Year resolution is to post on Patreon more consistently because the patrons are the wind beneath our wings. So we want them to know how loved they are.
I got more ideas in the locked and loaded. I'm ready to go.
Yes, I might do a deeper dive on Richard Speck. I know I covered him in our regular podcast, but we were kind of talking about it. And also one of our upcoming topics would cover him. So maybe I'll just move that to like a full scale investigation into that.
Yeah, because you did it in like a 10-minute version, so you could do like an hour-long version.
Yeah, a 10-minute version, like I didn't get to say much, so probably going to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, this week we are covering listener requests. We have
kind of a mixed bag. It's nice to be kind of almost freed of the thematic linkage and have just like whatever.
Yeah, this is just shit people wanted to hear us cover, and we appreciate you asking us to cover cases. Like that's so cool that somebody wants our take on true crime.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, pretty exciting. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, it's patreon.com/twistedlisters. TikTok, it's just at twistedlisters. If you'd like to join us on Instagram, you can do that at
Twisted Listers PCast.
And if you'd like to send us an email with case suggestions, because we'll do them, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod@gmail.com.
If you would like to join us on Instagram, or wait, did I do Instagram? I did Instagram.
Yeah.
If you want to check out our website, that's
twistedlisterspod.com.
Yay! Okay. So let's get into these listener requests. I think I chose this, so you're going first.
Okay. And you can remind me who chose this. I think this is the person who had two that we're both doing, one each. This is the murder of John Morgan. It happened in 1998 in Johnstown, New York.
Oh, I'm glad you're doing this.
Okay.
I can't remember. I know Miriam had one.
It's the person who had 2 that you're doing 1 as well. So
I might have been Miriam then. But I feel like this was the person who this was like their friend.
really?
I don't know. I'll look it up right now and then we'll tell you guys. Okay. Sorry, guys, that we don't know. We're the worst.
We have to shout out the listeners if we're doing listener requests, right?
Right, we should. Okay, I'm going to look it up right now, but keep talking. I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah, you have one this person requested also. There was a 2-fer. Okay.
Okay.
So again, you can even request 2, 3 cases. We'll do them all. We will. We're so nice. Okay.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck. We'll do them all. Okay.
We'll do them all.
Here we go.
So I actually grew up for like 8 years in Ithaca. So I was like, oh, where is this in New York? You know? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is way the fuck out there. I've never been anywhere close to here. Johnstown, New York is kind of just northwest of Albany. So it's central and like way east.
Okay.
In the New England like direction.
I know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I know
very
you're telling everybody else, but like I was like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm saying yeah because I know.
It's very rural. It's kind of like middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So John Morgan is 19. He was from Warrensburg, but he had been living in Fonda. Thought I would include all the towns since this is a listener request.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, I know those towns.
Also, this is Stacy. Thank you, Stacy.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Stacey, for your 2 suggestions. So John had a bit of a rough upbringing. Wait, do you know which person in the story she knows? Was that a connection or just from her hometown?
I'll have to look.
Okay.
I didn't get that far, man. I just got her name and I was like, there's her
okay.
name. Like, I was excited.
Well, I wasn't sure if there's a connection. Anyway, okay. So John had a rough upbringing by all accounts. And this is a thing that I don't know if it's real.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very fucking cheesy show about this I'll reference several times called Murder Among Friends. That's on the spectrum of investigation discovery shows. It's on the cheesiest possible end of the spectrum. Like it's very hokey. And the reenactments take a lot of liberties.
Right.
But because a commentator, like in the, Talking Head also said this, I'm going to take it that there's some truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, John Morgan was into designing escape rooms.
Oh, that's awesome, actually. I love escape rooms.
I, first of all, could never do that. It would give me such fucking anxiety. Like, no fucking way.
Yeah. I could see you being really not into that.
Not into it. No, I love haunted houses and stuff, but I can walk out.
Right. This one you have to like figure out how to get out.
No, I don't like being confined in a fucking space. But apparently that's a thing he's into. I find that very strange and like too perfect for the ID show. But apparently it's true. He had dated one 20-year-old Amanda. I'm gonna say I cannot fucking. You said it kind of like Djzierson originally. Let's say Djzierson. It's Dzierson.
It could be Djzierson, like
Djzierson. I'm gonna say
Djzierson. That's fine. Also, this guy was one of Stacy's close friends, so pretty
John
fucking
was.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Sorry, Stacy. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
bummer.
All right.
Yeah.
So, he and Amanda used to live together. I'll be interested in hearing her take on this.
Yeah.
He and Amanda used to live together. At one point, Amanda. So he had another girlfriend off and on again named Jessica, who's not going to be part of this main story here. But then I'll just say he gets sort of off and on again with another girl. So he's got kind of 2 girls in his life. Okay. This other one is Amanda Djzierson, who's 20. At one point, they briefly lived together. She got pregnant, but at least according to the ID show, which, like, again, I'm going to put that preface in, he denied it was his baby. I mean, other people do say that. It's not just the reenactment. Okay. He kind of isn't into the baby with Amanda. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And she was apparently really devastated by his reaction because she really wanted to, be together and all this stuff. And Amanda ends up having an abortion.
Okay.
No shame in that, but apparently she didn't really want to, so it kind of sucked, kind of a weird situation. So the ID show makes it sound like she lost her baby, but all of the news reports say she got an abortion. So I'm not sure what it is, but either way, there's no more baby and she's fucking pissed and she's bummed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she probably is blaming him.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has another pregnant lady, so he's probably like, oh, no, wait, no, I want to be with pregnant lady number 1,
So, yeah.
So John also supposedly left Amanda to deal with some bills for pay-per-view movies, which is just so petty and stupid. And he supposedly left her with a $900 phone bill. So these are the things against her. Like she's mad that they broke up after the baby thing went sour. She's mad about the baby. She's mad about these bills.
Right. So it just sounds like regular breakup shit. Like,
yeah, I mean.
I'm still mad that Jason like took some of my favorite artwork, even though it was
yeah.
technically his.
So other than the baby thing, which is really hard to cope with, everything else is pretty petty.
Yeah, no, the baby is a big one, but also
Yeah.
like it doesn't sound like she was forced. It doesn't sound like he forced her. It sounds
Right.
like, but it sounds like her trauma response is to kind of blame him and displace the anger, which is
Yes.
like I
Yes.
get it. Like there's no, like that's a
Yeah.
pretty traumatic thing. So
Yeah, because it sounds like he was kind of hooking up with her in the break with this other relationship where she was like more invested in it.
right. Right.
So it's like kind of different places. And John had been going through some rough times, apparently had kind of crashed off and on with his friends. And his other best friends in this group here are 17-year-old Lucas Whaley and 17-year-old Theodore Cook.
Okay.
Like I said, he had also been with this girl, Jessica, but she was pregnant with his child, but they kind of broke up and they had been off again, on again. And the ID show makes it sound like Lucas and Theodore were kind of annoyed with him staying with them. Like there was some sort of dynamic where they felt he was mooching or kind of being a freeloader, right? Or something like that. But it's sort of hard to know what is like the just from the killers later on and what is real, because you also have like a lot of John's friends and family saying he was like the greatest guy in the world, So it's like,
Also, it sounds like they might have been feeding off of each other in their like
an unhealthy dynamic or something.
Yeah. Or like where they're convincing each other to be like more mad than maybe they should be, like compounding each other's like irritations into like something that turns into like full scale hate in a way.
It feels like Lucas and Amanda and Theodore are all kind of compiling various petty reasons to be mad at Josh. Yeah, John.
John.
They're all kind of ganging up on him, but when he doesn't know it, they're all just sort of like getting madder and madder.
Right.
For all these different things. So here we go. So March 12th, 1998, John was kidnapped. Well, didn't start out that way, but he was kind of lured away by Amanda. And they use her as like the lure under the guise of like just hanging out, right?
Okay.
And she picks him up and she takes him to the Theodore's house on South Melcher Street. Didn't find the address, but that's close.
Mm-hmm.
And a New York Times article described the house as filthy, which I always like to include because it kind of paints a picture here.
You do really like that.
Yeah, love a weird, filthy setting because I mean it's appropriate.
Right, it is. It's not like an immaculate home where like
murders aren't happening in houses that look like the Kardashian house. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna happen in the
sometimes they do, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, generally speaking, in these instances, we're not going to like a Beverly Hills estate.
No. Ooh, we should do hoarder murders.
Ooh, oh god,
that's niche. Yeah, but I love the show Hoarders.
I know, you really do.
Great. I really do. Okay. So they take him to Theodore's house, and when they arrive, they kind of take him down to the basement. Things are getting sus, and Lucas promptly smashes his kneecaps with a large stick.
So how the fuck did they get him down there?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just they're friends. They have like some pretense of like, oh, we're getting it. And then in the ID show, they have John being like, why are we hanging out in the basement?
Right. But I mean, I get it. Like if you're friends and you hang out with these people a lot, you're
not going to suspect what's coming.
Exactly. Like you'd be like, oh, there's something cool to see in the basement. Whatever. Like, yeah, I get it. Okay.
Yeah. He does not. He definitely did not expect what was coming at all. Because how could you? So the ID show portrays what I think is just what the killers later say, and I do not trust it, which is so slightly two different versions about how this all started. So this is what the ID show / the killers want you to think, which is that they didn't intend to kill him at first. They kind of like sat him down and had an intervention where they confronted him and they did bind him with like cloth bindings to a chair, but it's so they can like yell at him.
Okay.
And they asked if he would work off his debt to Amanda by cleaning around her house, and he said no. And then they snapped and started with the violence. However, I don't think this I think this comes from the killers, like I said, and I think what really happened, according to like other reports, the police reports, is that they just started off with violence. I don't think there was too much of a conversation.
I mean, if you're like smashing a guy's kneecaps and tying him to a chair, you're not giving him like a reasonable out, which he's going to say no to. Like if I had my kneecap smashed and I was restrained in a chair by 3 people and they were like, will you clean her house? I'd be like, fuck yeah. of course. And like, I can't imagine anybody else would say no, but I also don't imagine that ever actually came up because it's already past that point.
You don't usually tie people to chairs and then they're like, hey, can we just have a talk? It's like, you could just do that without the violence.
Right, exactly. So that sounds like a load of horse shit.
No, I think they just want to be violent. So here we are.
Yeah.
So they bound him to the chair. They then beat him extensively and cut him. In the ID show, they have Amanda dramatically carving things into his arm because she carved things in his name into her arm. So there's like kind of this poetic parallel, but I don't know if that's true. But they did beat him and cut him.
Mm-hmm.
They then rubbed salt into his wounds.
Oh, come on. That's fucking gnarly.
Yeah. They strangled him. They poured bleach down his throat.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So they're like getting creative. They're like workshopping some stuff. They're like, what else can we do?
Did that not kill him?
No.
Wow.
He's just being tortured. Yeah.
You would think that would kill him.
Nope. So John even got free from his bindings at one point. I think he used a ruse that he wanted a cigarette, and then they gave him one, and he was like, like just sort of like bye, and tried to run away.
Yeah.
He tried to jump out a window, but found it had heavy plastic covering the glass, so he couldn't just jump out.
That's fucked up.
He then tried to run away, like out of the house, and as he did, Lucas and Theodore chased him, hitting him with a stick, and then throwing a TV at him.
Whoa.
Which took him out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all this shit, it feels like could have killed him, like each individual thing.
A lot. So at some point during or after the torture session, the group decides that they have to kill him, and Lucas and Ted end up strangling him with a heavy-duty electrical cord.
Oh, that is so fucking brutal and gnarly. To actually do that is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it's really gruesome. And then, John is dead at this point. They have a weird period here for a couple of days where they can't figure out what to do with his body. They try to bury it, but the ground is frozen solid. New York. And it gets very cold, so they can't quite break ground to dig a grave. And so they're driving around with John's body in their trunk. Amanda and Lucas are in Amanda's car, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. Like I said, eventually they just abandon the car, and they're like, I think they were going to come back to it. Like, they're like, let's just think on this whole body problem. But before they can do that, an officer finds the car and pops the trunk.
If it is Amanda's car and there is a dead body inside, why the fuck would she park it anywhere other than her own property? Like, what is wrong with her? Why is she so stupid?
Yeah, they just bail in the car somewhere and they're like, we'll get back to this.
I remember also that Stacy was like, they drove over a bridge like 5 times and never dumped the body in the bridge. I don't know if you're going to talk about that.
No, I didn't come up with that. That must be an inside detail. I didn't find that.
She was like, they like literally were like on this bridge over a giant fucking river. It was probably, what river would that be? That'd be like I forget what river that would be up there.
I don't know my rivers. No.
Not the Hudson. Is that right?
Maybe. No.
That might be. Know. Anyway, there's some big ass fucking rivers up there, and it was like, just drop the body in there. Like, it'd probably never be found if it was. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they were pretty much driving around in circles for like days, being like,
these people are fucking morons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also go around and incriminate themselves as well, asking several people, hey, can we get a shovel? Hey, what do you do with the body? Like, they go around like talking about it to people as well.
Jesus Christ.
It's not going to help them later. And when cops do pop the trunk eventually and find John's body, a puzzle piece is found on his body, which is not like an ominous jigsaw conspiracy thing, but it will link to the crime scene because a matching puzzle piece is found at the crime scene at Theodore's house.
Got it. So like all the puzzle is there except for the one piece.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Also, okay, sorry. There was another thing that she said in her email, but I'll address it when you're done if you don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I don't. Okay. Yeah. So after a series of increasingly incriminating interviews over time, the group is arrested and charged, all 3 of them. Lucas is presented as the ringleader and kind of the brains behind the operation by the kind of prosecutors here, detectives. In her interrogation, Amanda says that she fled before the boys got into like the serious torture because she was like, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
But the boys, Lucas and Theodore, say she was a very active participant and was like, and I would say that's probably more likely because she had most of the beef, right? Like she had most of the motive
Yeah, and
to be
also
mad.
like women often try to say that, like, oh, I
I'm
couldn't
just a
stand the
girl.
violence. Yeah, and it's
No.
like, dude, as a
No.
woman, I can tell you we are like way more ruthless, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like,
Yeah.
we have the capacity for some crazy shit. And
Yeah.
like the idea that whole thing, like playing up the like fairer sex thing is so fucking stupid and it's like
Yeah.
complete bullshit. But
She
anyway,
definitely didn't do like the murder part, but like she did
right.
partake to some degree for sure.
Yeah.
So to avoid, but overall, they're kind of portrayed as being unrepentant about it. There's like, yeah, fuck that guy. They're like, they're still mad. They're still like proud of what they did.
He annoyed me by being at my house too much, so I fucking torture murdered him. Like, okay, like you don't see a
Yeah, and it's
problem with
like if you don't
this?
like someone, you can just not be friends with them. You don't have to like
Yeah,
torture
just
them
be
like
like,
that.
don't come over anymore. I don't
Yeah,
like you. It's really simple.
very simple.
So fucking weird.
So to avoid a trial, they all end up coming to plea deals with the prosecution to plead to slightly lesser charges because otherwise they were all faced with life sentences. And for Ted and Lucas, they were going to be they were going to be tried as adults, even though they were 17.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did the pled because that was the best option, I think.
Mhm.
Lucas Whaley was convicted of second-degree murder and got 25 years to life.
Okay.
Theodore got second degree and 23 years to life. And
Okay.
Amanda was convicted only of first-degree kidnapping
Oh.
and got 20 years to life. So she wasn't convicted of the murder.
What's insane to me is that these people torture murdered somebody and like they're getting less than like drug dealers.
Yes.
Like
Yes. Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in favor of heavy prison sentences in
Sentencing for
general.
Yeah, or for children
But
especially, which
they
they were.
Yeah. But that being said, like you said, the disproportionate
Yeah.
sizes is really something.
Yeah.
Again, compared to like nonviolent drug offenses
Yeah.
or like robbery. Oh my God. Like our justice system gets so mad if you rob something.
Because it's the taking of property, which is what we
yeah.
actually value in our
Property
society.
crimes.
So,
Yeah. So at their sentencing, the judge said that he hoped they never got out of prison until they're old men, like, fuck you. Basically, he's a big fuck you. And he said that the two 17-year-old boys, quote unquote, lucked out because they didn't qualify for the death penalty in New York.
Oh, fuck
and so
that fucking asshole judge.
I know.
Fuck
He's kind
him.
of a dick. Because his sentence is, or his statement is basically like, I wish I could have murdered these children,
Yeah, yeah, that guy needs to be removed from the fucking bench. What a complete piece of trash.
We know how judges are, but
yeah.
John's grandfather, he was raised by his grandparents, and John's grandfather gave a heartbreaking statement where he said that, that he would make sure to object to their parole when any of them were up for it. And his grandma gave a really sad statement that it's quite long, but I just wanted to read it, a small excerpt. Because by the way, also John, I mentioned his other pregnant girlfriend. So he had a baby that never met him.
Oh, that's so fucked up.
Yeah. So here's his grandma's a couple sentences here. Quote, from everything we have heard, you decided John could no longer live because of a phone bill. Did killing John get the phone bill paid? Which, fair question.
Yeah.
It did.
A fucking phone bill.
Yeah. John was just beginning his life and he had a lot to live for. He was trying to get his life together for a very special reason. His baby, who was born 2 months after his murder.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, she goes on to talk about how they took John away from this son's life and about, all of the things they could have done together and all the times he could have had with his family, like all the stuff that they took from them. And and in the ID show, they do have his son, Jacob, talking about, how he kind of wished he could have met his dad,
Yeah.
and how all the positive things he's heard about him. And yeah, that's pretty much the story. It's a little bit shorter, but I also ended it by going to the New York State inmate lookup because there was no news stories. But I found them. I found all three of these people. So here's their updates. Theodore Cook was released on parole in March 2021.
After doing how many years?
Exactly 23. So the second he was eligible for parole, they let him out.
They let him out. Okay.
He was 42 years old.
Okay.
Lucas is still in prison because he's not eligible for parole yet, but he will be eligible for parole in March 2023. So in just 2 months.
This year, right? Yeah.
So he could be out very, very soon, judging by how Theodore went. And Amanda got out on parole in 2018 at age 45.
So right at her 20 years. They all served exactly their sentences, basically.
Yes. And by March, they'll probably all be out. I'm
okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I am too, and hopefully these guys just get their shit together and don't torture, murder anyone else. But like you said, what is upsetting is the disproportionate sentences for like drug shit and like dumb shit.
Well,
So
and also if they were like black or whatever,
yes,
it would be very different.
exactly.
Yeah, by a
The
long
fact that they
shot.
got the plea deal at all is why they're out.
When
you
it was
know?
like a slam dunk fucking case,
Yeah.
So what
So.
Stacy had said was that one of the reasons that the cops knew it was them is because they showed one of their uncles the body and asked for like help, and the uncle
Yes.
instead went to the cops, which I'm like,
Yes,
very
yeah,
good.
that's sorry, I kind of alluded to that when I said they incriminated themselves. I forgot that they showed him the body. But yeah, they went up
Right.
to one of their uncles and was like, "Can we have a shovel? Hey, we have this body." And just like and the uncle was like,
Like, I am now an accessory. I better do something
Yeah.
about this to like unaccessorize
Yeah,
myself.
but I think they told several people as well. They were like being incriminating as fuck, so.
I mean, that's what children do. That's what like young people who are not smart.
They're young and dumb for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Stacy. We're really sorry about your friend. That's a fucked
Yeah,
up situation.
It's really fucked up. And no matter what petty slights he may or may not have done to these people, this is a pretty fucking disproportionate like,
response.
to the petty crimes. Yeah.
You can just imagine it's all like dank and dark and gross when they're doing
my
it.
God.
It's like so like awful. Ugh.
No,
Ugh.
and he had so long to be like, why are my friends doing this to me? Like,
yeah, these people that like I'm close with supposedly are like torture murder. That's so fucked up. Ugh.
Todos los días sales a chambear para ganarte dinero. Trabajas duro y con orgullo. Eres esencial para la economía de California. Y aún así, no siempre te alcanza. Pero hay ayuda. Presenta tus impuestos y reclama el CAL EITC. Ese es el crédito por ingreso del trabajo de California. Y podrías recibir un reembolso. Es tu dinero. Te lo has ganado. Averigua si calificas en CAL EITC el número 4me.org.
You know when you're trying to think of a song but just can't quite remember the name? Like when you're looking for the perfect track for a car ride, but all you can think of is a beat? Well, using weed in your teens can make you forget things you want to remember. Because your brain is still developing, the THC in weed can impact your ability to form memories and remember things. MindOverMarijuana.com can show you the different ways weed can impact you in real life. Want proof? Check out the facts at MindOverMarijuana.com. Sponsored by the California Department of Public Health.
And terrifying. Just terrifying.
it is.
Oh, okay. Well, I am doing one that we have been asked to do for like months, and I had a really hard time figuring out. Guys, I just had to edit something out, but I'm going to say this fit into one of our previous categories that we had done before this was requested. So I was having a difficult time figuring out how to do it. So that's why I was like, listener requests. Let's just get all the ones that don't have full, categories and just do it. So this is the Erba Massacre. And I was actually going to ask you to figure out how to say that. Erba, is that what it is?
It's Italian, right?
Yeah, near Lake Como in Lombardy region.
Yeah.
Okay. So this takes place in Erba, Italy in 2006. Like I said, it's the province of Como, like Lake Como in Lombardy, Italy.
It's beautiful up there. Oh my God.
It's near the top of Italy. So if it was the boot, it would be like the part that just goes over the knee. Like it's almost out of
I actually
Italy.
really want to go to Lake Como. It's so gorgeous.
It looks really beautiful. And this is like a really rich area. There's about 16,000 residents. There's definitely some working class, just because obviously you have to have working class people everywhere. But it's definitely more upper class. And as with many areas in Italy and Europe in general, even if you own your own residence, it's often something like a condo or an apartment. So you share walls, floors, and ceilings. It's not like a single family residence like you see in America. So in one of these buildings with shared walls and floors and ceilings lived the Castagna Marzouk family. And this family consisted of 30-year-old Raffaella. Is that how you say that, Raffaella? Raffaella? I don't know if you say the whole thing.
Raffaella.
Raffaella. Okay, yeah, like Raphael.
Yeah.
Raffaella. It's just spelled with an F, so I was like, is it different?
No, I got an Italian stepdad, so I know Italian words.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm looking to you.
Raffaella. I'm gonna put some like little pasta Italian hands on it.
Zhuzh a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was 30-year-old Raffaella, her husband, Tunisian-born Azuz, and their 2-year-old son, Yusuf. Raffaella's mother, Paola Gali, was also often at the home helping with Yusuf and just kind of being around. Now, I'm not 100% sure how long the family had lived in this building, but I do believe that based on what I read, it was even before their son was born. Raffaella and Azuz had something of a rough relationship. They loved each other, but they were both like pretty spicy people. So they would often fight, and sometimes very loudly.
Mm-hmm.
So the Castagna family, which was led by Father Carlo, was a very rich and well-known family in the area. They actually had a really successful furniture business. And while Rafaela's brothers worked for the family business, she grew up not really needing to work. So she was allowed to focus on things like humanitarian work and just
Nice.
basically being taken care of, which, like, that's
Sounds
kind of
great.
the dream. Yeah.
Yeah.
When Rafaela met Azuz, her family was very much against the relationship and very much against the marriage. Reason being, they were all devout Catholics, just like most of northern Italy, while Azuz
Right.
was a gasp Muslim.
There's
So
a
they
lot of
were,
racism in Italy too.
oh, big fucking time. Yeah, we'll
Quite a
talk about it
bit.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the family was not happy about this. And when the couple did marry, none of Rafaela's family attended. And at the time the story takes place, as far as I know, only Paola, Rafaela's mother, was in contact with the family at all.
Okay.
Like, she was the only one. Her brothers later said this was because Azuz was a drug dealer and they didn't approve of that. But it's definitely as much due to his religion as anything else. But
Yeah.
that being said, Azuz was actually a drug dealer. So, like,
Okay.
like
They're
that's
not lying.
yeah, they're not
Yeah.
making that up. He and his family had like a long history of drug dealing. That was kind of like
Okay.
what they did. So, the Castagna Azuz family did not have a lot of stability, as you can imagine, between Azuz being in and out of jail all the time, which he was. Like, his most recent stint was for like 7 years or something, but he didn't
Oof,
actually
okay.
do it for that long, because like Rafaela was only 30 and they weren't together that long. I mean, they were
Right.
together for a while, but like for him to be gone for 7 years, like,
Right. Also,
obviously.
Italy has like very chill criminal laws. Like,
Yeah, he was released for
very
like
relaxed.
he was released super early in this like mass prisoner exodus kind of thing.
Did you
So
know that if you're over, I think, 80 in Italy, you cannot go to jail for anything? Did you know that?
wow.
You
So
could
you
just
can
do
be
a
like
massacre.
serial killer,
Yeah.
and they're
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
well, you're gonna die soon, so we're gonna let you
Yeah.
live it out.
Yes, you could be an elderly serial killer and have nothing happen to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild, honestly.
Mhm.
That's a little scary.
Yeah.
But
Watch
also,
out for those geriatric Italians. Watch out.
yeah, I mean, it's weird coming from our society where we're like obsessed with like, punishment and like,
Right.
Anyway, that's crazy. So anyway, they didn't have a lot of stability, and Rafaela had kind of an expectation for being taken care of. She had this young son. She was very spicy. Azuz was very spicy. So there was a lot of fighting, like I said, and it would be very, very loud. So they had
Okay.
neighbors above and below them, as well as neighbors on the same level, like across the house. So this was an old farmhouse. Apparently, that's a thing in Italy where you have old farmhouses and you
Mhm.
convert them into like
Divide it up.
apartment. Yeah, you divide
Sure.
it into like apartments. They would fight. They would have parties. They were young. They were loud. He was a drug dealer. You know what I mean? Like they had a
Yeah,
certain
they're wild and
lifestyle.
out.
They
Yeah.
are. But he's also a drug dealer. So who knows who they have coming in and out of their apartment, right? Like it's kind of a weird situation. So on the evening of December 11th, a fire broke out inside one of the apartments of this building, and two volunteer firefighters who either lived in the building or like next door went inside, like to the floor to investigate. When they arrived on the floor of the fire, they found a man, Mario Frigerio, lying face down halfway inside the burning apartment. The firefighters pulled him to safety, then went back to the second floor to try to put the fire out. They went back inside this apartment, which was the Castagna's apartment, and found a dead body inside the home. The body was that of Rafaela Castagna, and she was on fire. So they pulled her out onto the landing and put her out. They then went back downstairs to attend to Mario, the wounded man. He was still alive, but had a really deep cut to his throat and was quickly losing consciousness. So
Okay.
they're trying to tend to him and then go back upstairs, right? So
Yeah.
Mario ended up being transported to the hospital where he fell into a coma. Meanwhile, after they got the fire extinguished, first responders found a horrific scene inside. Besides the body of Rafaela, which they had already found, there were 3 other bodies in the building.
Oh my God.
Yes. Those bodies were of her mother, Paola Galli, her neighbor, Valeria Cherubini, who had actually dragged herself back upstairs to her own apartment,
Oh my God.
and Rafaela's 2-year-old son, Yusuf. Rafaela had been beaten with a crowbar, stabbed 12 times, including in the face, and had her throat slit. Her mother had also been beaten and stabbed. as had the neighbor who suffered 34 stab wounds but managed to stay alive until help arrived. Sadly, she did die before being transported to the hospital. And as for 2-year-old Yusuf, this is really fucking horrific. His throat had been slit, and it's believed it took about 30 minutes for him to bleed to death.
What the fuck? All this before the fire.
All of this before the fire.
Okay.
So this is fucking horrific. And Djzierson is nowhere to be found. Police immediately, he's the prime suspect, basically the only suspect. They begin their investigation, and the Italian media begins their bullshit, right? So, as you said, they are very, very, there's a lot of racism. There's a lot of like Islamophobia. There's a lot of sexism, everything. It's just really fucking
also
gross.
Italian news media in general is wild. We saw that with the Amanda Knox case, of course, right? Where
it's out of control.
It's very sensationalized and insane.
For those of us living in America, the closest approximation I would say is like early 90s American reporting.
They're stuck in like 1992 level of reporting. Yeah, for sure.
And for those youngins, 1992 levels of news reporting in America make TMZ seem like a really reputable and like totally like chill source. And it's not
they make TMZ look like BBC.
Exactly. Yes. So that's about where the Italian media likes to be. So it's crazy how over the top they are. Djzierson is a Muslim drug dealer. He was just out of prison. Like this was either a drug deal gone wrong or retaliation. Or of course, since he's not there, he's the murderer. There's tons of that's what the media really latched onto. This dirty Muslim murderer who killed his family. His family are drug dealers,
feeds right into what the press wants to say anyway. So
exactly. They're
perfect.
Just so stoked. So really fucking bad. Just tons of baseless speculation about what could have happened. Talking about immigration and right-wing politicians start using this as a reason to be fucking monsters about immigration. And there's all this hate towards immigrants. Suddenly, it's like a really big fucking thing. Anyway, the police, despite probably being influenced by all of this, do continue their investigation. All of the neighbors were interviewed. None of them really had any information or knew much about what happened. The two downstairs neighbors, Olindo Romano and Rosa Bazzi, hadn't been home the time when the police arrived, but they did return home shortly thereafter and started talking with other neighbors, and police finally got to speak to them right around 2:30 a.m. So none of them knew anything or said they knew anything, at least at first. And despite the fact that their upstairs neighbors had also been attacked, police pretty quickly surmised that the intended targets were Rafaela and her family. They just weren't sure why, or if Djzierson was either behind the murders or the intended target. But speaking of Djzierson, he was within 12 hours ruled out of being a suspect because he found that he was in Tunisia at the time of the murder.
Pretty solid alibi there. Not in the country.
Yes. So oop at the stupid fucking media. Oof. Besides that, before sliding into a coma, Mario had said that there were 2 attackers. So that was really helpful to police. And they started asking around in the area for any information about anything that might help them solve the case. What they found, which they found really quickly, same night, was really weird and pretty fucked up. So as it turns out, Rafaela and Djzierson had been having some trouble with those downstairs neighbors, Olindo and Rosa. And the trouble had been going on for quite some time, years.
So neighbor feud.
Yes, this is a neighbor feud. The downstairs couple, Olindo and Rosa, who went by Rosie, they were both in their 40s. They had modest jobs. She was a kind of a maid, I believe, and he was a garbage man. They really did not like Rafaela and Djzierson, and they often complained about all the noise that they made. They said, they're always yelling at each other or having parties. Their young son screams night and day. We just can't fucking handle it.
Yeah.
Rafaela's father, who wasn't involved in her life, like we said, still helped in the situation by paying to have carpet installed on the floors to help absorb some of the noise. Because I think they had wood or concrete floors. But this didn't really seem to help.
They're loud as fuck. Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, but if you've ever been an upstairs neighbor, even if you try to be quiet, the floor to ceiling thing,
hard.
It's nobody's fault. That's just how it's, build the thicker, levels between something. It's not the people.
Build better walls. It's the wall's fault.
People are like, it sounds like they're moving furniture all day. And it's like, they're probably just sitting down in a chair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I have like really incredible thick walls for kind of the first time in my apartment or house life, and it's
yeah.
fantastic. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it's lovely. Like, that's why I refuse to like live in apartments for as long as I can afford not to. I never ever fucking will again because I just can't
Yeah.
deal with it. So in any case, at one point in 2005, actually on New Year's Eve, Olindo attacked Rafaela. So this man attacked this woman, and it was bad enough that she brought like a lawsuit against him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They were made to pay Rafaela a pretty decent amount of money for the attack, and this only served to make them more angry because they felt like they were the ones being abused.
Yeah.
When asked about the couple, about Rosa and Olindo, neighbors said, they're not very friendly. Rosa is obsessed with cleanliness and orderliness, and she often domineered over Olindo, who was quiet and didn't really come off as very intelligent. They didn't have any friends. They didn't have kids. They were just kind of like not, they were kind of like shut-ins, like they kept to themselves.
Yeah.
When police knocked on the couple's door at 2:30 a.m., going back to when they interviewed them, they noticed that their home was immaculately clean and tidy. Besides this, another important thing they noticed was how readily the couple had an alibi prepared. When asked where they had been that evening, they quickly were like, oh, we went to a nearby town about 10 miles away to take a walk, then went to McDonald's for dinner. Rosie basically shoved the McDonald's receipt into the officer's hands, which showed they had ordered at 9:30 p.m., which was about an hour after the attacks took place. So it wasn't a rock solid alibi, but she thought it was. They were kind of like, look, we were at a restaurant, like,
Yeah.
and their general demeanor was kind of off-putting to the officers. And because of this, along with the other neighbors' information about the couple and their past interaction with the victims, police decided to bug their home, which is apparently
Ooh.
legal,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
it was at the time.
Somewhat easy-ish to do.
Yeah, I don't think it is now, like legal to do that anymore. So, but they did this in like within the first 24 hours, like the day of or after the murders.
Okay.
And one of the things they heard the couple saying to each other was, quote, "See how peaceful it is now? We can finally sleep well."
Oh my God.
Yeah, so at a minimum, it's like they're stoked. They're not like sad about it, which is kind of
Does
weird.
not bode well. Yeah.
No. And this is pretty damning. But what was even more damning was when Mario woke up from his coma and firmly identified the couple as the attackers. However, by the time he woke up, they'd already been arrested because police had used the conversation that they overheard to obtain a warrant to search the couple's car and had found one single drop of blood that was quickly traced back to Mario. So they said the cops were like, oh, the car is immaculately clean, but there was one, because again, Rosa's like obsessed with cleanliness, but she missed one drop of blood. And that drop of blood was of the victim, the surviving victim, Mario, who also fingered them as the attackers.
Okay, so it's coming together.
Yes, the couple were arrested December 13th, 2 days after the massacre, and Mario pointing the finger at them a few days later basically sealed their fate. Once caught, the two pretty quickly admitted to the murders and were really like detailed about like what they did and why. And it was
my God.
really callous to the point where like they were ordering like psych evals on them because it's like, how the fuck are you this?
You slit the throat of a child.
Like 2-year-old. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. They basically said, well, we were really frustrated at the noise. We're mad at Rafaela. The kid's fucking loud. They told investigators that on the night of the attacks, they knew Azuz wasn't home. So they waited. So this was planned for like months. Basically, after the judgment was levied against them, they were like, fuck this. We're taking revenge. So they waited until Azuz wasn't home. And about 8 p.m., they went and knocked on the door. They were both wearing gloves and were armed with knives and apparently crowbars. As Rafaela opened the door, immediately, as the door was opening, Rosa attacked her, stabbing her in the face. Meanwhile, Olindo, who didn't know that Paola was there, went and attacked her. They were just expecting it to be Rafaela and Yusuf. So Olindo attacks Paola, kills her in the hallway, and as 2-year-old Yusuf cried on the couch where he was sitting, Rosa walked over to him, and again, like, I can't believe I'm covering this one because it's so gnarly. She picked him up by the hair and slit his throat before just dropping him back on the couch to bleed out.
This shit is barbaric.
Fucking insane.
Oh.
depraved.
Like,
Fucking
how
depraved.
mad are you about the noise? Like, I feel like something else is going on in their fucking brains.
That's
like, what did the
exactly
psyche valves come up back with, you know?
right. Like, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, this is not a normal response. Like, just move.
No.
Sell your place and move if it's that bad. You know what I mean? Invest in
Yeah.
earplugs. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
The couple then set fire to the home, specifically lighting Rafaela and Azuz's personal items on fire.
Okay.
This was fucking stupid because it alerted the upstairs neighbors, Valeria
Right.
and Mario, who heard the commotion, smelled the smoke, and came downstairs to see what was going on.
When you have other units connected to that unit, that's very dumb.
Yeah,
It's not like a
especially when, like,
standalone house.
yeah, and it's like your unit is connected to this. Like, if you're willing to burn it
Yeah.
down, once again, just move.
You
Just
could have
move.
burned your own apartment down.
Exactly. It's like you're
Yeah.
fine. Like, just move if you're that unconcerned, you know?
Yeah.
Ugh. The neighbors coming down was definitely not part of the plan, and they just basically had to attack Valeria and Mario in the hallway. And they left both of them dead before going downstairs. They put their clothes in the wash, changed, and then left quickly for the McDonald's that was 10 miles away. Sped away in the
Okay.
car.
Okay.
The only reason that Mario didn't die is he has some weird defect where his carotid artery was like moved slightly to the side, and this saved his life. Rosie
Okay.
later said, quote, "We just could not stand them anymore." And when talking about why she killed Yusuf, she said, "He was always screaming. My head was exploding." Now, the media continued to go nuts on this, not learning their lesson from the Islamophobic bullshit. But they would be, because, you know, they would be nothing if they weren't also super sexist. They
Right.
began digging into Rosa and Olindo's past and found that though they had tried, they were not able to have children. So they began to
God.
speculate that Rosa was driven insane by this child upstairs that her neighbor was able to have.
Oh my
Like,
God.
my neighbor is rich. My neighbor, you know, has this great life. She has this child that I can't have.
Oh
So
my
they turned it into
God.
this big, like, blame the woman and her hormones and her childlessness. Everything would have been
Yeah.
fine if she just had a baby.
They already did the scary Muslim thing. Now they have to do the hysterical woman bit.
Exactly. She was painted exactly as a hysteric. And actually
Yeah.
neighbors described her as a hysteric, which did not fucking
Oh
help.
my God.
But also
okay.
that's a deep-seated kind of thing in the society, you know, to just describe
yeah.
a woman as hysteric. Anyway, the couple very quickly changed their tune and recanted their confessions once they realized how angry people were about this and how dangerous it was for them to be in prison for these murders. In fact, they both had to be held in protective cells as other prisoners repeatedly threatened to kill them both. So this was like a
Okay.
very big deal. People fucking hated this couple. Obviously, when they went on trial, it was another media circus. Azuz was there every day, often wearing a shirt with a print of Rafaela and Yusuf's picture on it in memory of his family. He also demanded an apology from the Italian media and right-wing politicians who blamed him for the murders, and he
Yeah.
actually got one,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
like actually
Wow.
unheard of. But I
It
think
is.
the reason that they apologized was because he was seen as a victim and society saw him like as a sympathetic character. So if the politicians and the media hadn't apologized, they would have been vilified because they are
Yeah.
villains, and so they would have been seen as such.
Right.
So this couple tried to say they were being framed. You know, somebody else came into the building. It wasn't them. But in the end, they were both given life sentences. I don't know if there's a minimum amount, or if it's just
Okay.
like basically like the Italian equivalent of Her Majesty's pleasure.
Sure.
They're both in their mid-40s at the time, and they're both now like 60 or around there. So it's likely they're going to die in prison.
Okay. Solid amount of time.
Yeah, and the timing, I'm actually really glad that we put this case off, even though I'm sure Miriam's like, "What the fuck? Why didn't you guys do this sooner?" But it's interesting because on January 3rd of this year, Olindo officially came out and made a statement with his lawyers saying that they have new evidence and a new witness who will prove his and Rosa's innocence. Which should be interesting because they absolutely fucking did this, like, for sure. There's DNA evidence, there's eyewitness evidence,
Yeah.
there's their fucking detailed
not a mystery.
confessions. Yeah. So he's coming out with his lawyers, and I'm like, do you guys have money that the lawyers are just like taking, like leeching from you, and that's why they're doing this ridiculous shit? Because he's like, our lawyers are really, you know, confident that they're gonna get us off on this because of this information we have. And I'm like, Are they though? Or are they just taking your money and wasting your time? So anyway, that's the case. Rafaela and Yusuf were taken back to Tunisia to be buried. And Azuz, I believe, now just lives in Tunisia and
Yeah.
is like, fuck Italy, and is gone.
Right. Yeah.
So pretty fucking sad.
Wow.
Hopefully this bullshit with them goes nowhere. It doesn't sound legit at all. So I think hopefully that we won't hear anything else. But that's the case.
That's insane. Yeah. Wow. Wow. What a motive.
Like, yeah, your baby cries too much. We're gonna fucking brutally murder your entire family, including this 2-year-old. Like, that is so oof.
Incredible.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Okay. There you go. And also, I love that you're doing like a European case, because my second case for part 2 is also European.
Ooh, nice. I know I don't do that many European cases, which is weird. I should do more.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's no
I
reason.
like being international. It's fun.
No, it's good. We have a lot of
Yeah.
Australian listeners. I feel like we should, we did
Oh.
Australian
You
killers,
did?
but it's good down. So that should be something we do coming up. Let's do it soon.
Oh, I thought we did a redo of that. No?
I don't know. There's
No,
enough we could do
I
it
thought we
again.
did.
Let's just do it again.
There's so many Australian murders.
I know there really are. We could do a whole podcast on that. It'd actually be kind of fun. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. This is part 1. Tune in a couple of days for part 2. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing, liking, rating, reviewing. We love you guys. We're really stoked to be getting the listens and be here after like 2.5 years. Thanks again.
Yeah.
And until the next time,
Stay
off our
list.
list. Bye.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back to the planet at no cost to you, and there's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement. Only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.